So hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In today's video I'm going to be looking at a games package for your A500 Mini. It's called AGS2 or otherwise known as Arcade Game Selector. Is it worth downloading for your A500 Mini? Let's have a look and see. Okay guys, so Arcade Game Selector is basically a games package for your A500 Mini. It's about a 6 gig download from, I'll leave the link in the description where to get it from, but once you've got it downloaded it takes a good couple hours to actually transfer to your USB stick, and it works out around maybe 11-12 gig, something like that. So ideally if you're doing this you really need a decent sized memory card, 16 gig or 32 gig ideally, and it's quite quick to actually download from the website, but it takes a couple hours to transfer the files to your USB stick. So guys, it was quicker to actually load than the Mini Amiga setup, and that took forever. This is a lot easier and quicker to download, and this is installed on the USB stick. You've got two options, the AGS2 Mini or the AGS2 Mini JIT, which is for games that are maybe running glitchy or just a little bit too slow. So it's got that option. I'll show you some of the games that differ between the two later in the video, but let's start with the AGS Mini package to start with. So it takes a few seconds to actually download, so have a little bit of patience. It does appear as if it's not working, but it does actually finally load. Okay, this is version 1.1. Version 1.2 is currently being worked on, and it's from a guy called Paul Vince, who's completely put this package together. It's a whole load of games. I think it's about 6,000 worth of games, demos, music, for example, which is pretty cool. So maybe we'll go look at the actual details about the AGS2 Mini, just to give you some idea of what it's all about. So it's called Arcade Game Selector 2. Not really sure why you didn't call it like Amiga Game Selector 2. That kind of makes a bit more sense to me. Not sure why Arcade has to be the name here. But there's about 4,860 WHDload games and demos with screen and title and cover images. I really do like that. It gives you a little idea what the game's like rather than just seeing some text and not really knowing what the game is unless you're a complete Amiga expert. There is also 69 hand-picked WHD downloaded games, and there are a few newer titles that have been added, which is pretty nice. There's some more details here. I would recommend to use a keyboard while operating this, because you really need to use the escape function or some of the keys to sort of exit and enter into the games. So you will need your mouse and keyboard ideally. Now it's not perfect, I've seen a few issues here and there, but it's actually quite a decent package that they've got here. And this has really just been done by one guy called Paul Vince. Sort of scroll down the list and it gives you some hints and tips, what to expect, how to enter games. You can actually access Amiga as well. You can access Workbench too, which I'll show in a little minute before we actually start through the games. It talks about games that are running too slow or glitchy. There's also some games running too fast. Now he does claim that he's put configurations in place that are ideal for each game, but I've found still some similar issues that we still see. But there are options to make some changes on the fly, as it were. Okay, so as you can see, you've got demos, games, all sorts of different options here, and there's a lot of help tips to help you get along. First, I will get into some of the settings. As you can maybe change on the fly here what CPU speed you want to run at, blah blah blah. I found this is probably quite a basic way of actually looking at it, but it might help if you find your games are running too fast or slow, for example. You can jump back to the Amiga Mini itself by just pressing shutdown, or you can do a hard or soft reset. Shutdown just takes you back to the 500 Mini. Okay, before we actually start to look at the games, what you can do here, you can actually press escape on your keyboard and it will take you to Workbench. And you can sort of play games this way or access different sort of things. Yeah, so it's a little bit messy. I guess you can maybe mess about with it yourself and get it to look a little bit nicer. But if you click on them, you can see some of the art, I guess. Okay, so back to the actual AGS2 arcade's game selector, so to speak. So there's lots of sort of different demos. These are really just like musical demo type of thing that comes on your screen. They're pretty cool if you like that sort of thing. It's sort of quite a cool demonstration of what your Amiga could actually do at the time. So you see a little bit of strange things. There's a lot of mixture in here. So to escape back out, just press escape and you should go back to the AGS screen. Although sometimes that does differ depending on what package you're actually running. You just need to pay attention to what the WHDload escape key was at the start of the screen there. In this instance it was actually F10 if I remember. This will differ per game or demo you're actually playing. Sometimes you can just press the escape key to go back. Other times you need F10, and other times it's actually the asterisk that you need to press. However, it's only the asterisk that works above the numerical keypad on the right side of a keyboard if you have that. If you don't, there is another way which I'll show when we actually come across a game like that. So the demos here are sort of sorted by group, so if there's a particular one you're interested in, you can maybe go in here and find it quicker. Now the only thing that's definitely missing on this package is a search function, as far as I could see in this main screen here. It would be really nice because there's a lot of stuff in here. There's thousands of games. You've got more demos here. These are really demos. More demos. I'm not really into that type of thing, but if you are, then you'll love it. There are tons here to go through. Now into the actual game section, you've got your advanced graphics games here. And they're all sort of sorted by A to Z. It's pretty nice. We'll maybe jump into a game to see how it's actually working. You definitely want to pay attention to the escape key here. This one is press print screen to quit. The print screen doesn't actually work. It's usually the asterisk key on the top of your numerical keypad at the right of your keypad that should work. So make sure if you've got a keyboard, ideally it'd be good to have that style. There is another way of escaping which I'll show you in this video after I've played this. This is Banshee and this looks really nice. Now most games have been optimised. Apparently most games have been optimised. I've still found a few issues here and there, but a lot of the games do seem to run really nicely, and you can see graphically they are really nice to look at as well. Now you will come across issues where some games running too slow, too fast, etc. There are options to change that back in the main screen. You can also jump into Amiga backend, but I didn't really find a lot that I could do there. It just didn't seem to make any difference. I.e. the changes I made sort of didn't really come into effect. But you see this is running really nicely. Great little shooting game. Shoot 'em up game. Absolutely top class. I love the sound effects as well. It seems very realistic. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so let's jump into the other game. We've got Arcadia. I'm not really sure what that is. It says at the start here, it gives you a little bit about it. Arcadia arcade machine was released in 1988. The hardware was based on the same architecture as the A500. Interesting. That's a new one for me. So there's an interesting folder here. We've got beta and unreleased games which you can sort of browse through if you want to. Okay, you can browse games by genre, by year, which I think this is quite a nice touch that you can maybe scroll through the type of game that you really like and maybe find it. Obviously that's quite helpful. Obviously there's not a search function, so if you've got something like this, it's probably a nice sort of addition. You've got it by year as well if you really want. You can see you've got some games that are more current, even up to 2022, 2021. Pretty nice. Okay, you've got your CD32 games. Now I have to say that Not every game will work perfectly well. I just don't think this is the best way of playing them. For instance, like playing Flank, you'd really need the soundtrack and stuff. It's all missing from here, so it still doesn't play as it really should. I have done a video recently on the best way of playing this, and I'll leave a link in the description. And the games play far better with the package here. These ones definitely need work still to them. So once you start, you can realise that the menu music is completely missing. And the game doesn't play amazingly great. So just bear that in mind before you go. Some CD32 games will play absolutely fine, but you will find issues here and there that just, are typical of these games. Okay, so this is an instance where the game doesn't kick back to the main screen. Now you need to probably do the asterisk, which is obviously the asterisk is the one above the numbers in the numerical keypad to the right of your screen. Now if you can't do that, you can actually access Amiga by pressing F12, and it takes you to this screen. And you can then reset and go back to AGS2 this way. If you press shutdown, restart, it goes back to the A500 Mini. So you can press the reset. Now you can obviously change some of the options in here, the speed settings for example, but I honestly didn't find it made any difference. It didn't actually take effect, because ideally what you need to do is change the settings and reset the game, but none of the restart, reset buttons worked. So I tried resume, something just didn't work and it just crashed. So bear that in mind. If you reset, it takes you back to AGS2. Okay guys, so there are tons of games on here. I'm not going to go through every game. CDTV games been separated out. These are sort of the main ECS or enhanced chipset games. And some of them are working fine. For instance, your usual issue with Bad Dudes, it works absolutely fine here. The speed seems to be set. It seems okay to me, for example. Let's have a look at it. So the speed does seem to be okay. Maybe just slightly too fast, but it's not awful. You can obviously try and make some further changes, but as I said, I found the changes were kind of minimal that you could make. Ideally you need the CPU speed to be a lot slower, but it actually seems playable. It's not bad. It's not the hyper speed that you normally see when you're playing this game on the A500 Mini standard. Okay, so having the CPU speed here to change is probably an addition that you don't see on the A500 Mini. You only really see the CPU speed options if you're running an ADF file, I believe, and not the WHDload files. So it's quite good that that's there. Then you can sort of change the speed to suit whatever game you're playing, which is ideal. But it does say that a lot of the games have been pre-configured and they should run well, but they don't always, so you have to bear that in mind. Okay, so there is extra games here which are public domain games or homebrew games, whichever you prefer. They were known as public domain games back in the day, more so now they're like homebrew games. And there's a few games here that are pretty cool that you should get your hands on and play. There's Barbarian Plus, which is actually really quite cool. You can see there's the little screenshots here, which I really like that touch. It gives you an idea of what game you're actually going to play. There are a few games here that are fairly new. Dodgy Rocks I've played, which is alright. Dread is a kind of a Doom style game, which utilises the keyboard and mouse. If you look at that, it says, please note you cannot exit this game, you'll have to reset with Control Amiga. Don't really know what that means. Anyway, I found sometimes, yeah, you can't totally exit from the game, and a little bit of a pain. Totally bizarre little game. Looks kind of like a golf game, so to speak. Very bizarre. Okay guys, there's plenty here to discover. There is more demos, sort of music and sound demos. There are non-English games. Look, there's games in different languages if that suits you. There's NTSC games as well. I suppose that's pretty cool if you want to choose that and it's better for you. So there's definitely a lot to see here, guys. What I'm going to have a quick look at is games that are probably running a little bit glitchy or slow, and you can choose the other option in the main menu, the JIT option, and they should possibly help fix. Well, let's have a look at one particular example that's running a bit glitchy. So one option that we're going to look at is It Came From The Desert, which does play a little bit glitchy by standard. Obviously that's not how it should be playing, but let's have a look at it, how it glitches. This is just the normal AGS2 option here.
Unchanged for millions of years, yet witness to a biblical
see that sort of glitching in the background there.
That one day the milk shall come.
Now when you get to the start here, the game does start to glitch like crazy. So what I'm going to do is show you how it runs using the JIT option in the main screen. Let's go back and show you that. Okay guys, back at the main screen, rather than choosing the AGS2 Mini option, you can go across and choose AGS2 Mini JIT, and this will hopefully play that game in a better way.
The desert, unchanged for millions of years, yet witness to a biblical prophecy come true.
Right away you can see the glitching is gone.
The milk shall come.
Now when you get to the main screen you can see the glitching is completely gone, which is ideal because obviously you cannot play this game when it's glitching like crazy. It's really going to hurt your eyes. So that's really quite cool that that actually works like that. So it's certainly one perk that everything's been set up to work as it should, and it saves a little bit of effort from us, the sort of user and player. So interestingly guys, even though these settings are put in place, there is still quite a few games that don't seem quite right. Like Leander here just still seems to be a little bit sluggish and glitchy. The settings are not quite perfect, so you could probably mess about with the settings in the main menu to try and get this perfect, but obviously there are quite a few other games that I've come across that are still needing a little bit of work to them to actually work and run properly, so that is a little bit disappointing. Okay guys, so that's our quick look at Arcade Game Selector 2. Now it's really quite cool that all these games have been put together by Paul. Really great work, so thanks for that Paul, really appreciated. I still think there's a lot of work that needs done to lots of different games here and there. Not every game is running perfectly, but you've got some options there that you can probably mess about with and try and fix. I definitely felt that it was a little bit sluggish, sort of selecting games and jumping between menus here and there, and it did take a few minutes to actually load the actual Arcade Game Selector itself. So it's not the fastest, to be honest. It's still a great selection of games. If you've not downloaded any games, then this is a great package to sort of look at. A drawback is that I couldn't actually find a way to save games. You can't sort of jump back to the main A500 Mini and use the save states there because the menu option has been deactivated. You can't use the save states within Amiga either, so I'm not really sure how that's working. To be honest, maybe I've missed something, but it's definitely a drawback. But it's an option for you guys out there. Is it better than a Mini Amiga? I'm not too sure. It's much a muchness here and there. It really depends what you're actually looking for. But it's an option, guys, if you want to look at. It's out there and it's totally free to download. I'll leave a link in the description for you if you are interested. So guys, thank you for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and we'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.